Bell to Bell podcast, episode number 65. As usual, I plead with you to leave us a review on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. It does help us get a push. There's a lot to talk about this week, a lot of controversy over the weekend, and that'll be coming up much later on the pod. That'll be our sixth and final round, and I'm sure there'll be some strong opinions with myself, my co-host John Evans, who you all know. You okay, John?
Yeah, really good, Steve. Really good, thanks.
And I think one of our more regular pundits on the show, I think his third appearance, top Manchester trainer Robert Rimmer. Rob, thanks for giving up a bit of your Sunday afternoon to record this. I know you've been rushing around everywhere today, but we had to record on a Sunday, and John and myself are desperate to watch the DAZN show in an hour. So sorry for interrupting your Sunday.
Listen, no problem. My pleasure, mate. Listen, I'm glad to be on, mate. Listen, it's always eventful. So yeah, no problem at all, mate. Anytime.
Just a couple of things. We've got Jack Massey. I think he'll be up, but he at end of April, May time, isn't he? Your IBO Cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, hopefully, Steve. I'm hoping for April the 30th.
Yeah, that's the date I heard. Yeah, Bolton, isn't it?
That's the date. Yeah, Bolton. Yeah, that's the date we've been told. Hopefully, I should have a meeting this Tuesday with Dennis and the team and get a little bit more clarification as to what's going to be going on going forward and opponents and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the date I've been told. So hopefully this week we can get something nailed down and get it out there.
Yeah, one other fight I want to mention. I just saw his pictures. A fighter I'm a big fan of, actually. I think I've mentioned John before. And Josh Holmes, with his injuries, his hands are both in a cast. And, you know, you look at them, and it looks quite serious. We're talking a really good young prospect here who's heading towards the British title in 18 months, 2 years. Is everything going to be okay with his hands?
Yeah, do you know what, Steve? The problem with Josh, he has had bad hands, but it's not been a reoccurring problem from his debut. It's been over the last 3 fights, and fight is always what. Especially someone like him, he absolutely loves it. He breathes the sport. He puts everything in. But I found that every time he was sparring or he was doing things half-hearted, not because it was a case of every time he was just hesitant to throw or to do certain stuff. And anyway, he was back in the gym and he sparred and he caught the kid's elbow and boom. But not just one hand, 2 hands. They started ballooning up and he was going all purple. So I said, look, there's a problem, but it's not the end of the world. If there's a problem, we'll get a solution to it. So he's been to see Mike Ayton and lo and behold, there is a problem. So it's not a major problem, but he's got tears in every single one of his knuckles. In the ligaments and every single one. And he's also got ligaments that have been overlapping. So there's the problem to what he's been having. But he's had the operation. It's been successful. I spoke to him yesterday. And hopefully he should be back in the ring within, they said between 8 to 12 weeks, possibly a little bit longer. But if he does everything right, he should be back punching by then in 8 to 10 weeks. So.
The way you described it there, it sounds pretty serious, tears in every knuckles to the uneducated like myself.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I think it's been over the last 3 fights, and he's just been thinking, it may be a case of there's a little bit of inflammation every time, he's catching fire and, his impact on the hands. But obviously there's been a problem and he's been making it worse gradually. The last fight that he was in, that kid had an head like granite. He really did have to change gear, and because he wasn't well in that last fight, believe it or not. He was poorly, but he ground down and he got the job done. But I think it didn't do his hands any favours whatsoever. But I'm hoping now, fingers crossed, that he heals okay and we can get back on track and we can start pushing him towards some form of titles, whether it be a central area or an English or. We'll leave that with the team. And the kid's a talented kid, and I think he's going to go places.
So another one, Robert, I think it's maybe your greatest training achievement. We've spoken about before, what you did with Charlie Schofield. It didn't go to plan, did it, with Jermaine? I don't know if occasionally he didn't get started quickly or something, but how's Charlie been since then?
Do you know what, John? He's been okay. I've not really had the chat with him yet regarding the fight and after analysing it and looking back on it. But look, Charlie, and he's probably one of the most professional kids you've ever come across. And yeah, he had a great win against Mick Ellison, and he's become English champion. He's had a career where he started out as an heavyweight, he's come down through the ranks, back down to cruiserweight to light heavyweight. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's the super middleweight champion. And that night was his big night. You know, there was a window of opportunity. You know, it's a boyhood dream. MEN Arena, you know, big stage. Ricky Hatton's walking you out to the ring. Of course, there's a lot of pressure, but that's your window of opportunity. And I always said everything that I predicted that Jermaine Brown would do, he did. The way he come out, from the shots he thrown, slowing down after the 4th and the 5th round, everything we said, and the game plan was perfect. But look, it's sort of solely down to the fighter to execute the game plan, and sometimes it doesn't always go to plan. Yeah. But for me, Charlie didn't really, I don't know, didn't get going, whether the occasion swallowed him. But even when we tried to fire him up, and look, you're the English champion. You're in your own town. You know, I'd rather you go out on your shield, give it everything. For one reason or another, I don't know, John. You know what I mean? It was probably the most frustrating corner I've ever worked.
Just frustrating sitting here watching it. Because he came out fired up. You know, you could maybe too fired up. I don't know. But
do you know another thing? I mean, look, we know him.
Changed, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what, John? We know him. I mean, like you know him from the start of his career, so do I. And it's only till I kind of look back and I can analyse certain things. Charlie's quite a reserved and laid-back character. I mean, the event and the occasion's big and whatever else, but that's kind of not him. You know, when he was kind of firing himself up, it was, to me, he was now looking back, he was trying to G himself up, trying to get himself fired up. I don't know. These are questions that I'm going to have to ask him, you know what I mean? And he's going to have to be honest with himself. But, you know, look, boxing's a funny old game, mate. And, you know, I think he's had a good career, and he's achieved well. But again, you know, that wasn't, Jermaine Brown's no Rubik's Cube. He was there for the taking. You know, he looked very nervous himself. And I think, you know, if you can't get past guys like this stage, you know, it's kind of tough, really. What do you do? Where do you go? I mean, to step up to British level, there's some great fighters there. And you can't afford for no slip-ups or even to freeze in them fights. So I don't know. Listen, it's going to be a conversation hopefully this week, and we'll see where we go from there.
Well, thanks for that. I'm incredibly how frustrated you were there, but honest as ever, Robert. And I think it's going to be an interesting chat with Charlie this week. But these things happen, I think, after defeats. You've got to sit down and be brutally honest. So, and I know you will be.
Well, look, do you know what, Steve? Honest is the key in it. Listen, I'd rather just be straight down the line and give my opinion and say how I saw it. And I kind of, you know, I've analysed everything, not just from before, but also after. How did he take defeat? I'm looking at his mannerisms. How did he react to it? Did he take it a little bit too light, too easy? Stuff like that. I mean, this is just me analysing him and me knowing him as a person. But that's why I need to sit down and have a chat with him, because you know what? Sometimes fighters can be happy at a level where they can, you know, they're happy coasting. But look, I've got a gym there, you know, I'm trying to create winners and have that winning mentality. And I'm not saying Charlie's not got that, because he would never become English champion to come off the defeat he did against Mickey Ellison and to come back and put a career best performance in. But I just think, you know, at this stage, you know, everyone's got to be on the same page, and you've got to be honest with yourself foremost, and especially moving forward. Because, you know, I can't be doing another corner and being so frustrated. I mean, if someone can take instruction and go on, it might not work. But as a fighter, even whether plan A, plan B, plan C is not working, you've got to be looking to go out there and give it your all and go out on your shield, especially when you're champion. And he didn't do that, you know. And for me, that's a big factor, and that's a big question mark, and which I need answers to. So we'll see this week.
Well, thanks that again. We'll get on with the pod now. Johnny, you got your bell, your clock ready? I think Rob got us off to a good start with what he's just been speaking, how he's been speaking, and we know he's always got something to say. So I'm going to start this week, John, and I'm going to start on the Andrade Parker purse bid. Been some criticism of, not a lot, but bits and pieces about, wow, how comes Frank Warren's played £1,360,000 about in converted to dollars. I think Andrade gets $884,000 for fighting Zack Parker for the interim WBO title, and Zack gets $476,000. You know, as we know, our purse bids work. I'm sure there's some sort of a deal, and that's incredible money. But I just think this is a massive gamble Frank's taken to get an interim title, to make someone guaranteed the shot at the world title. It's a staggering amount of money. And it's, you know what, it's the sort of gambles we used to see Frank Warren take years and years ago, just to try and get his man every advantage. I was amazed at what the bids were. I think even Matrimony offered about 60 grand less to stage that fight. I'm just absolutely staggered by that amount. And I think it's one of the biggest gambles Frank's made at a purse bid because, I think Zack's very, very good, but he's still got to find some way to go to beat Andrade, I think. When Andrade, you almost think his best hope is that Andrade boxes 30 seconds around and switches off. And Zack can take it that way. But he's still got a lot to find for me. I just want to see what you guys think as well.
Oh, yeah, John, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I think it's a great fight for Zack. I think Zack should beat him at 168. I think he's got it. He's big. He's not a gutsy British challenger who's got to work his ass off, and use the home crowd to will him to a decision. He's bigger. He hits harder. He can box. He's got a jab. He's younger. Andrade switches off. Andrade's not a puncher at middleweight, let alone super middleweight. Zack could be a light heavyweight. I know where they're planning on staging it, and I know that'll pay for a lot of a purse bid. And I know they're not expecting Andrade to take it. They think he might pull out. I don't know. I think it's a good shot getting behind Parker. I think he can do this, Parker.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's a great fight. Like I said, it's a risky fight still, but Parker's got it all to gain and nothing to lose. But what a task. Demetrius Andrade has proven time and time again, there's a reason why he's been avoided. And obviously he's now moved back up to super middleweight to try and get certain fights. But, was it Pride Park? Hopefully maybe have it at.
I guess they're looking at that. I know there's a new arena there, but Pride Park makes sense.
Yeah, would they sell it out probably? They've got a few good like Nathan Enos, Stoke in it. These are big tickets that they can put on there. But I think is it a fight that Demetrius Andrade can get up for as well? He can't take Zack Parker lightly. He punches very hard with both hands. He can box southpaw, he can box orthodox. He's pretty much all-rounded fighter. And this is his big chance.
Round two, we'll go over to you, Rob. But you want to talk about Kell Brook? I know John's got an opinion here as well. So you two go first here. Away you go, Rob.
Yeah, so for me, Kell Brook has been a massive, big talking point, He's done a hell of a lot to come back how he did, and he was in fantastic shape. Probably one of the biggest fights of his career. I was lucky enough to be there, which we've just been talking about earlier. I had one of my lads on the card. I've never seen a build-up to an event like that from the Ricky Hatton days. It was amazing, and I'm sure it was unbelievable for Kell. And not only to go in there and put on an unbelievable performance, a dominating performance, which nobody thought was going to happen. And I believe he got a rumour around about 5 million for that fight. So he's financially secure. And the big question for me is, at 34, 35 years of age, does he go out on a high or does he continue? Because, of course, there's going to be big names now who are going to probably see him over the hill and whatever else. And, these still big money fights, Eubanks, maybe Ben. I know we were talking last night about Catterall and about Josh Taylor. So, for me, I don't know. What does he do? What does Kell Brook do from there? And what would you do? What would you say if you was his coach?
Oh, I think he looked really good. And before the fight, if you'd asked me, Rob, I would have said, get this over and done and retire. But I thought he looked good. And the way Taylor looked last night, moving up to welter, he's going to want to test the water, isn't he, at welter? I think Kell's got one more in him, Whether it's Josh Taylor now, that's become a viable fight, I don't know. But one thing I would like, and it's more aimed at Eubank than Brook, I don't see why Eubank's calling for Brook. We've wanted Eubank tested at middleweight, haven't we? He's been calling out Golovkin. The last thing we want Eubank doing is shouting out a welterweight in Brook. I want to see Eubank tested at middleweight rather than picking on these smaller guys. But yeah, I think Brook's got one more left in him. I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Go on, Rob.
Sorry, Steve.
No, you carry on.
Okay. No, I was going to say, go on, sorry, mate. For me, Brook, he looked great on the weight. It's how he conducts himself between now and another fight being made. Because he can go off the rails and he can balloon up so fast. But it's very easy to look at that performance and you can look at, it was a dominant performance, but did Amir Khan offer much? For me, he didn't really offer too much. So you kind of judging off that performance where he looked great. But some of these younger, fresher kids who have been on the scene and been active, would they cause him problems? For me, I think he should just call it a day and go out on a high. I mean, he's financially secure. I think that should be it, and he's had a great career.
I think you called it spot on. I'd love to see him retire. He's earned plenty of money. I presume he's got plenty of it left. Or if he is going to fight, it's got to be very quick. He can't have a year out the ring and then come back because there's a bit of money. If he's going to fight, he's got to get out, by September or something. Round 3, over to you, John, and a couple of Scottish heavyweights.
Yeah, we must have all watched it. Nick Campbell and Jamie McFarlane last night on the undercard on Sky Sports. I don't even know what to say. I've never seen a fight like it on a big platform, but it ended up, it grabbed everyone's attention, didn't it? It started off so bad, and then they both dragged each other into this give and take war. It was terrible stuff to watch, but you couldn't take your eyes off. It was like a slow motion car crash, very slow motion car crash. But what do you think about fights like that being on these bills? It turned into a crowd pleaser stuff. Everyone was having a laugh watching it. Do you think that's good? Would you rather watch a prospect in a one-sided blowout like we saw Hassan Azim getting prime time for a one-sided fight? Or would you like a fight like Charlie and Jermaine, an area title fight? Do you think there's room for a heavyweight sloppy fight like that on a big bill?
On a Sky or BT show, yeah, because you know what, John? When Sky and BT aren't boxing channels, they're catering for the casual. And they would have lapped that up last night. Big 18 stone, 19 stone Jay, who's got so many issues outside. I know him really, really well. I was with him last week and he told me, the camp had been bad. He's quite an honest kid. Camp hadn't been great. He's got a lot of issues. He's a lovable guy. I think people want that sort of thing. It's not, what I want to see. I'd like to see stacked bills with titles and all that. But, it's wishful thinking. I just think the casual fans would have loved that last night. Sky and BT aren't catering for us three.
Yeah, true. For me, look, you only have to look at the commentators last night. The fight, the way it started off, you was like, wow. Wow. Are we actually watching this? This is professional boxing. But like you said the same there, John. It did catch fire and it kind of got interesting towards the mid-rounds. And I think, listen, there is two sides to it. And boxing, it's the entertainment business. James McFarlane for sure is an entertainer. The way, look at him at the weigh-in and whatever else, and that's what people want to see. People, whether you like him or you hate him, that's what people want to see. And yeah, he didn't offer much, but, he kind of made it an interesting fight. But again, it's, I think it's the only sport in the world where you will be able to walk in, and I think we're going to come on to certain topics where you'd be able to do this. You won't be able to do it in rugby or football. These levels to the sport and to the profession, and there is a fine line where it kind of become a laughing stock because you see better white collar fights than what we seen last night, and that's a representation of a Scottish heavyweight title. So, I think Johnny Nelson hit the nail on the head. Scotland's not got, anything better than that to offer, which we all know they have.
The old days on Sky when we had people like Michael Holden from Manchester winning the
British
Michael
Julius, I know Michael well.
Quality, but Michael Holden would have stood both of them on red on the same night, wouldn't he? So,
I know Michael very well. I see him over the park. His dog tried to kill my little Shih Tzu about 6 months ago. He's big Great Dane, true story. Anyway, round 4. What drives boxers on? I think Robert would have an opinion here because, your dad spent all those years with Ricky Hatton when he was earning really good money. And I'm just thinking, Canelo's get this potential, if he has 3 fights with Matchroom and DAZN, he could earn £119 million. And I just wonder what drives boxers on to keep doing it, because as much as I love what I love about boxers more is that, the ones that live the life, I think, who are brilliant pros. I always refer to Brian Rose, who you spent a lot of time with. Incredible career, amateur pro, and still seems to love the sport even now. But when these guys are making millions, I'm just full of admiration for them, that they can still be motivated to get up in the morning. It's like footballers when they're earning 300 grand a week at 25. I love them because they get up and still want to better themselves. What drives boxers on when they've got 100 million in the bank?
I think, for someone like Canelo, there's a very fine line between being very good and an elite. There's not many people who can sit in that elite club. Just look at footballers. Look at Messi, Ronaldo. True professionals. Ronaldo doesn't go out partying, doesn't drink, doesn't any of that. And I think Canelo's in that same club in terms of boxing. he's conducted himself. You only see him, he's in the gym all the time. The way, you don't ever see him really off his head and whatever else and out partying. This time he seems to be a bit of a family man. But, I mean, money and numbers are just unbelievable to even think, and for the normal person, you think, it's game over. But for someone like him, he's always had that rivalry with Mayweather. And I think that's what keeps him going. I think, even though people say, oh, you cherry pick this, that, and the other, but I think having them tests, like now with Bivol going up to light heavyweight, he's not meant to succeed. He's not meant to do it, but I think that's what drives him. It's that gap between, well, no, you shouldn't be able to do this, but no, I'm going to show you that I can do it. And I think that's the only thing that's kind of driving him to just keep proving everybody wrong, regardless of the amount and the figures that I put on the table.
I wonder if it's easier for someone like that to carry on going, who's got hundreds of millions, and they can purely concentrate on doing this camp. They don't have to worry about anything else for the rest of their life. They can just achieve as much as they can possibly achieve, compared to someone who's earning 50, 60 grand for European title fights, where they have to keep going, they have to keep motivating themselves, because the future's not secure, is it? They have to keep pushing on, even though they're earning decent money. You've got to keep going, you've got to stay fit. For someone like Canelo, he's not got another care in the world for the rest of his life. Life is purely focused on becoming the best he can be and setting a legacy. For other
Do you know what as well, John?
It's all about money.
It's one of them as well. I mean, when you've got that amount of money, right? I mean, for everyone else, if you want nice cars, nice watches, nice houses, nice holiday, he can have all that. He can have that for the rest of his life. So there needs to be a purpose to what he's, to get out of bed every morning. And boxing has always been his life. He's never been able to have the things that he's had, the materialistic side of stuff. He's never been able to do that. But now we'll be going off just getting all nice and juicy.
You were superb there, Rob. And now you're going to start the next topic. You want to talk about weigh-ins and the rule change, what's coming back into boxing from March the 1st?
Yeah, so, they're going to reintroduce on-the-day weigh-ins for fighters. And for me, that's something that I don't kind of agree with. So, I know it kind of favours people like journeymen and stuff like that, but I think you've got a lot of uneducated boxers nowadays. Like I said before, boxing's so easy to come into, professional boxing, and I think there needs to be something there. That's probably another topic that we need to talk about. But you've got half of these people all of a sudden wake up one day, want to become a professional boxer, and for one reason or another, next 6 months down the line, they've got the license. But a lot of them are uneducated. And again, coming down to on the day weigh-ins, fighters trying to make weight, it is crucial. And it's another fine line which can go either way. And, you do it wrong. I know these kids kill themselves to make weight. And it's shown time and time again. I mean, I've had fighters in the past that have done it, where they've not been able to rehydrate in time. They've not been able to get food or whatever. And it's proved drastic, for me, they're putting the lives of fighters at risk. And like I said, it's down to the board, because I think it's lazy, it's money, and for promoters and stuff like that, where this should be, no matter what, it should be made where it's a day before, no matter what, day before weigh-ins, every single time before.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
The way you've eloquently put that, Rob, you got me doubting my own opinion of it. My thoughts in it were it's better for the roadmen who might have work, jobs to go to, or taking 2 days out of work and stuff, and, to cut them some slack for maybe the small hall promoters. I use Carl Greaves as an example. He's got a show with no title fights, and of course, title fights will still be the day before, this Saturday in Newark, where he's got about 8 fights, and he can now weigh them all in at 3 or 4 o'clock on Saturday instead of Friday and save a lot of money. Do we have to cut them some slack as well? But the way you've put it there, you've got me doubting my own opinion now, Rob. Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah, like Rob said then, a lot of the new people coming into it and kids who are young in their careers, they're the ones without the benefit of nutritionists and the knowledge to do it properly. And they're the ones who are going to be weighing in on the same days. And they're the ones who are going to make mistakes and pay the price for it. See, I agree with Rob. I think it's probably time now, because of the drastic things that people will do, to just keep everything the day before.
100%. And you know what as well? People understand that. Like, half of these kids, again, they're uneducated, so they haven't got a clue. They don't know. They just think, I'm going to stop, and you wouldn't believe some of the stories. I'm not going to eat until this time. I'm not going to drink any fluids till this time. And you know yourself, like, that is absolutely drastic. It's the worst thing you can do. But also, what about fighters that are travelling?
So you're round 6 anyway. You won me over, Rob and John. Well, Rob, round 6. Go on, John. Fire away.
Yeah, this is TaylorCatterall. We had to talk about it. Do you know what? We have a couple of rants on this, don't we? And we have a laugh about it, but no rant this time. I'm just disappointed. We all know Jack. He's gone about it the right way, hasn't he? All through his career. I saw a post where he said it was 18 years since he's first put on a pair of gloves. He's been in the hard gyms as a young kid. He's taken himself to hard gyms on his own and put himself in tough situations. I think he's been promoted terribly, like we said last week, all through his career. He gets to the number 1 spot, gets forced to step aside, really. Didn't get a penny for it, didn't get any step aside money. Finally gets to the very elite level of the sport. And when he's faced with that situation, he dealt with it. He performed above and beyond anything most people expected. He didn't let himself down. He did more than enough to win. And then 2 people, probably the only 2 people in Great Britain who thought Taylor won, take it away from him. And titles will come and go. Jack's going to get shots at vacant belts, but never again in his life will he probably have the opportunity to fight for all 4 belts, the Ring Magazine belt, the undisputed title, and put himself in a position to earn millions to look after his daughter, Riley Ray, and his Mrs. Lauren. And for a guy who had to consider going back on the roads and back on the tools last year because he had no money, to have that snatched away from him, I just thought he's incredibly sad, and the sports let him down time and time again, Jack.
It's just, I watched it this morning, delayed. I knew everything that was going on. I was at a show in Liverpool last night working, and I was watching it just with Zelfa on a small phone while doing some commentary. But I watched it this morning. I had it. Well, I think it was 1-1-5. Well, it was 8 rounds to 4 anyway. I had it. But I just made when I'm new. I made some quick notes here. Nothing's ever done. It'll be forgotten in 2 weeks. The press release from Top Rank left me bewildered this morning. The way it was like something Putin-esque, not even quoting anyone from the Catterall camp, just to balance it in Josh's
tickets, was it?
Josh's
name was even printed on the tickets.
Josh's favour. And, I even had it out with Evan Corn, the head of media at Top Rank this morning on Twitter a little bit. But, another crazy thing is, despite winning, I use that word winning loosely, John Hannon made this point to me, it does Taylor no favours either. His profile wasn't great, and now people, he's gone down in people's estimations after that. You just gutted for Jack. He should be defending that title he should be going away now for a nice holiday with his baby, his missus, looking forward to being made for life. Should be defending that title for $2.5 million or something. Instead, he'll get another title fight. Don't worry about that. He'll be lucky to get $250,000. And also, the governing bodies haven't said a word on it. The only tweet, we're recording this Sunday afternoon, so by the time this comes out on Tuesday, it might have been overtaken. But the only word from a governing body was the WBA's Twitter feed congratulating Taylor on winning. It's just unbelievable. And it's funny, I was speaking to Steve Wood earlier, and he was listening to it with Jed and Michael Pass on the way back from their lead show. And Jed was in the back getting really excited because he sees Jack every day in the gym with Jamie. He's won it. He's been listening to the commentary on 5 Live with Bunsey and Barry Jones. Michael Pass said there's no chance, when it finished, no chance of getting it in Scotland. And Steve Wood called it right. He said Howard Foster will give it to him. Victor Loughlin won't. And there's no chance he and John Lewis is going to give it to him before it was announced. So there you go. Oh, I've had my say on it. And, everyone's had their say. Go on, you can finish us off for the pod for this week, Rob.
Yeah, so listen, I think everyone's up the voice of the same opinion, but it was absolutely disgusting. There's no other word that can describe the decision. It was disgusting. Jack Catterall, he outboxed Taylor, he outsmarted him. His game plan was perfect. He boxed to instruction. But look, like I said, that was life-changing, and these judges should be held accountable for their actions. And we talked about it time and time again, but this is someone's life that's ruined. How does anybody know now how Jack Catterall's going to come back from this? How does it in his mental state? How is it, because he's risen to the occasion every single time. But how does he come back from this now? And the only way that this can be made right is if the board do the right thing and overturn that decision, and then belts should be handed over to Jack Catterall. You know, and if that's not going to happen, the governing bodies don't do it, he should be made lineal champion. You know, there should be something where he's put in a position where he is number one, and that gets revoked because that was not a loss last night. And again, I think everybody's took it kind of on a personal basis, but it's bringing boxing into disrepute. Everybody's looking at the sport now, and like, it's a laughing stock. And you know what? The Boxing Board of Control, you know, their own little cult. No one's saying anything. Things are happening. Now it's getting done. But I think now, more so than ever, and you think you've got to take your hat off to Ben Shalom last night. He's probably the first promoter that's come out. And, you know, he spoke. And that's what you need. You need people who are at the front of the queue, you know, the ones who have got a voice, and they need to say something. And, you know, I've seen an interview with Nigel Travis, and he was talking about Robert Smith. And, you know, he was, oh, no, but he'll come again and whatever. Like it. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't rip his head off, you know, and I know these judges, I think we've talked about in the past on a previous podcast where I said there should be a traffic light system because, you know, they're in the heat of the fire, you know, and they should be able to make these decisions, you know, split decisions and time decisions. But for everybody around the world who voice the same opinion, you've got 3 judges sat ringside who saw a fight totally different. And for me, they need to be held accountable. That's that.
What it needs is TV companies, promoters, you know, Sky as well can come in here. Adam Smith and these people, instead of the hard lines, Jack and all that. And, you know, here we are with another great fight in 2 weeks. I know, look, they work with Sky. They need to get together. Look, I'm thinking in football when there's been issues before, there's been independent inquiries, be it hooliganism, whatever. In cricket recently with the racism at Yorkshire, independent inquiry. And it got rid of everyone at Yorkshire who was involved in that. No nonsense. What boxing needs is an independent inquiry like Ben Shalom was getting at. Independent captains of industry come in and tell them what's wrong, and these sweeping changes are made. You know, and your traffic light system, which you mentioned, I think it was the last time you was on the pod, Rob, is fantastic. This sort of stuff's got to happen. You know, with the border control, it's impossible to infiltrate it and get in. I mean, I've mentioned this before. I know of 2 boxers, one whose name I forget, but he's spoken to me, and another one, you know, a boxer from this area. They try to get on the refereeing circuit. Now, no one's saying they're going to be good enough to be refs, but they can't even get an interview or looked at. It's just crazy, but we're going off the topic there. I just think an independent inquiry is needed because it happens all the time, and there'll be another podcast here in 2 months moaning about another decision. But by Tuesday, if Tyson Fury and Dillian White have a press conference this week, which I'm guessing they will because the tickets go on sale this week, it'll all be forgotten, and all the news will be them 2 snarling at each other. That'll be the story.
And I think something else that will happen, a lot of the people that turn up now with the mobile phones on sticks doing interviews at all the media days and stuff like that. If Jack gets a vacant WBO title fight against someone like Barboza or Zepeda, like you say, Steve, for 200 grand, if he wins it, they'll all be afterwards saying, oh, you know, this must make up for that feeling of getting beat off Josh. They've not got a clue, but for just looking at the trophies and stuff, that has taken Jack's earning potential. It's literally a life-ruining thing that happened to him last night.
Nothing can make up for it, for flip's sake, nothing, because he would have been one of the few men in the history of the sport to have held 4 fucking belts, 4 belts. A guy that's basically a blue-collar fighter from a blue-collar town in the northwest of England. It's fairy tale stuff. It's absolute fairy tale stuff to hold them 4 belts for a guy that took no step aside fee, as you reported in Boxing News, for a guy that was on the tools 18 months ago at Christmas. It's fairy tale. You write a book on it. You have a film on it. 4 belts. What's there been? 6 or 7 in the history of... Oh, I'll give... You know, I can't say any more. We've got about a minute left. We're going to get cut off, so you better finish us off in a minute, Rob.
No, do you know what? For me, listen, it's like going putting the normal lottery on, but then thinking, you know what? I'll bang the Euro Millions on. Last night he won the Euro Millions, and he won it outright. Every number come in, and he still got swiped away, and nobody can understand why.
He won it for 2 minutes. Between the final bell going and the decision, Jack had the winning ticket, and then some bastard come and took it out his hand and ripped it up, and that's what happened.
That's a great analogy.
You know what? I don't think I've ever watched a fight. And I know, obviously, we know Jack personally and stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever watched a fight and I've been sat at home and I've had that sickening feeling. I even spoke to my dad this morning. He was saying, I couldn't sleep last night. And I said, you know what? I was the same. I was consistently thinking about it because this kid's life should have been changing forever. His family's life should have been changing forever. And them judges have gone home last night, probably had a couple of beers and whatever else, and probably think he's forgot about, and they'll continue when they'll ref the next fight. It should be, it's disgusting. There's no words.
I tell you, fellas, I'm going to get cut off here any second because our 40 minutes on the gas meter's gone. Rob, you've been a brilliant guest again. We'll get you back on in a couple of months. What I reckon, John?
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.